And what's up, you guys? It's your boy SF Barry of Sports Talk, and I'm so excited to be doing a 49ers off-season edition video. Now, today we are going to be looking at 5 key parts of the 49ers offense and what we can expect, the moves the 49ers to make, and how everything is going to play out. So number 1, we will look at the wide receiver position, which is a position that I think the 49ers can improve on going into next year. Now, secondly, we will look at the tight end position, which, as we know, with George Kittel leading the way, perhaps the best tight end in football, things are looking pretty good there. Now, number 3, we will discuss the 49ers running game at running back. And number 4, we will discuss the offensive line. Man, what a season they had this year. They played so amazing. And how can we not forget, last but not least, we will, of course, discuss the quarterback position, and we will be talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, what we can anticipate going into next year, and we'll talk about how he progressed this year. I mean, it was just absolute amazing to see the progress from Jimmy G coming back from that torn ACL injury. So hats off to Jimmy Garoppolo. And so now let's get right into this, you guys. So my first key point, we're going to be talking about the wide receiver position. So one of the biggest factors from last year, you can argue, is that when the 49ers made the trade for Emmanuel Sanders in the middle of the season, you know, we started to see amazing production come from the wide receiver position. So one of the biggest things is that I think Emmanuel Sanders brought a veteran presence to an already amazing clubhouse culture that you had in the locker room with the 49ers. And so Sanders was able to mentor the young wide receivers on this 49ers team. And as we know, the 49ers used their second-round draft pick in 2019 to draft a guy by the name of Deebo Samuel. And I mean, he had one of the best seasons that we've seen from a rookie. And towards the end of the year and into the playoffs, he proved that, you know, the bright lights did not get to him, and he shined on the brightest stage. And I mean, for a rookie to do that, I cannot be more excited to see the development of Deebo Samuel and where he is going to go following this. So Sanders really brought that veteran presence. Of course, he won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. So, you know, that definitely helped bringing that experience along. And Deebo Samuel, I just think he's going to have an absolute breakout year. So the question does come now, because Sanders is indeed a free agent, and he will probably be looking to command about $9 to $10 million a year. Now, as a 49ers, what do you do? You know, do you bring this guy back, or do you look at some other key factors, which the 49ers did also use their third-round draft pick in 2019 to draft Jalen Hurd. Now, unfortunately, due to injury, Jalen Hurd did not play the entire season this past year. So now he is expected to be ready for training camp. So if the 49ers can get some big time production out of Jalen Hurd, that is going to be a huge catalyst. Now, another area at wide receiver, back in 2018, the 49ers also used the draft pick, drafting Dante Pettis. And now we really haven't seen Dante Pettis really break out and become the player that, you know, we know he can become. And so, you know, I think the 49ers are really going to be looking at his offseason workout regime. You know, what type of shape does he come into camp with? And is he determined to really make a difference? And, you know, I'm confident he can really turn things around. And, you know, we will hopefully see some amazing production coming from Dante Pettis. Now, the other 49er wide receiver to take note of on this team is also Trent Taylor. Now, Trent Taylor went through a really unfortunate injury as well. It was a foot injury this past season. And what started out as an injury that probably was only going to last maybe 4 to 6 weeks, it ended up being basically a season-ending injury. And, you know, there were a lot of complications. There were a lot of setbacks. And Trent Taylor had to have multiple surgeries. So, you know, it has been a long road to recovery. but he potentially will be ready for training camp. And if that is the case, you get production from him and Jalen Hurd. Now you're starting to talk about, some more areas at wide receiver that you can hopefully get production out of going into this season. Now, Kendrick Boren is another wide receiver from the 49ers who really played amazing as well this past year. He came up clutch on a lot of big third down plays, securing first downs for the 49ers and getting big touchdowns. So really his development, he has only been getting better. And there was a video that surfaced out on Twitter, I believe, that he was putting in the work already for next year, and couldn't be more excited to see the progress of Kendrick Boren. So you put all of these things into perspective. The 49ers also, they have the 31st pick in the NFL draft coming up. And obviously, due to a lot of trades that they have made over the last couple years, when they, for example, traded for Dee Ford from the Kansas City Chiefs, 49ers, I believe, gave a second or third round pick to the Chiefs in that trade. So, they don't have, the 49ers don't have a whole lot of draft picks right now you have that first round pick, then they don't have a pick until the 5th round. So the 49ers can potentially, hopefully, try to trade back maybe to get more like 2 or 3 picks in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round and try to be able to, again, get top-level talent. And as we know, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they do an amazing job of trying to find the best talent with, whatever they are given with. So I have complete confidence that if the deal is on the table, a team really wants to trade up to get a specific guy that maybe is still available at that 31st pick, the 49ers can use that to trade back and then get a whole bunch of draft picks and then be able to make some moves there. Now, I think with that 31st pick, if indeed they do that, or even if they get multiple picks, I think wide receiver is going to be a huge position that they can try to upgrade on. And, this draft is really, I believe in my opinion, it is filled with a ton of wide receiver talent. So there's going to be opportunities to be had for the 49ers to get that top wide receiver talent. And really, it's going to be a huge catalyst for this offense and Kyle Shanahan's game plan. So it is extremely exciting to see what could happen, you guys. And the NFL draft is coming up before we know it. I think coming up in about 80 days or so. So cannot be more thrilled and excited for it to be here. So now let's get into the tight end position. So we are talking about George Kittel. And man, he is such a beast out there. What a phenomenal season we saw. My favorite, probably 49ers memory, regular season memory, that I will always remember is when he basically manhandled 3 Saints defenders. It took 3 Saints defenders to bring him down on a 4th and 2 play that the 49ers gained about 20, 30 plus yards on that and set them up to get the game-winning field goal in a shootout battle between Jimmy Garoppolo and Drew Brees, a 48-46 victory for the 49ers. What a memorable regular season game that was. And George Kittle, he is the best in the NFL, I think, at yards after contact. People cannot bring him down, and he's only going to get better. So the 49ers certainly will have to lock up George Kittle long-term and pay him the big payday that he is due. Now, if we look at his backup, Ross Dwelley is a very capable backup. And when Kittle did miss some time this year, Dwelley stepped in big time, made some big catches, and I think you're only going to see him get better. So at the tight end position, the 49ers really are looking good going into next year. So also at the fullback position, how can we not forget Kyle Juszczyk, probably the best fullback in the NFL. He is such a versatile athlete. There are so many things that he can do in Kyle Shanahan's offensive game plan, whether it's in the running game, the passing game, the blocking game, so many things he can do. And as we saw even in the Super Bowl, the 49ers used Kyle Juszczyk and he was able to score some big time touchdowns. So Juszczyk is, again, another player that's only going to get better, and he is an inaugural part of this 49ers offense. Alrighty, so now we are going to get into the running game. And one of the most amazing things about this past season was that the 49ers had 3 running backs that accumulated 500 or more rushing yards. So, I mean, I have never seen such a fabulous season like this, such amazing production from 3 different running backs. So, it started out with Tavon Coleman being the starting running back at the beginning of the season. Now, due to injuries, Matt Breida ended up taking over the bulk of the carries. And as we have seen from Breida, he has just been one of my favorite running backs from the 49ers. He had a great season last year in the 4-12 season, that we saw CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins at quarterback, who they played very well as Jimmy Garoppolo was recovering back from that torn ACL. So Matt Breida, he also clocked in at one of the fastest mile per hour rates at about, I think, 23 to 24 miles per hour on a carry on a rushing touchdown he had this past season. So Breida, he was the mainstay running back, but then due to injuries as well, it then gave way this season to Raheem Mostert. And man, what a story for Raheem Mostert. Another one of the most biggest underdog stories and triumphant stories of the 49ers season was what we saw from Raheem Mostert. A guy that had played on 6 different teams in his past, bouncing from team to team, overcoming adversity. Now he finds a home with the 49ers, and I mean, he absolutely breaks out. In the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers, Raheem Mostert rushed for over 200-plus rushing yards, and I mean, we absolutely went ecstatic. And I just love what he has been able to do and produce out there, and I just can't wait to see what we can expect coming into this season. So now that gives way to another question that you guys are probably wondering, which is what will the 49ers do with Jerick McKinnon? So the thing with Jerick McKinnon is that he can really be utilized coming out of the backfield. McKinnon is very good at running a lot of different passing routes, and so he can create a lot of havoc to defenses. And, he was brought to the 49ers to be a part of this Kyle Shanahan offensive game plan. But due to injury, he has not obviously been able to play for 2 years already out of the 4-year deal that he was signed for. And the 49ers committed a lot of money to this guy. So you have to imagine the 49ers are going to want to see if they can still get production from Jerick McKinnon. And so that'll be a story we definitely monitor closely as we get into training camp and in the preseason to see, how does he look out there getting carries and, what will the 49ers do? Because, Matt Breida, he is not guaranteed to come back. I believe he is an unrestricted free agent. So, you have to wonder what will the 49ers do there. Breida this past season made $650,000. Now, he is going to be set to do for a pay raise up to $2.1 million. So you have to wonder, is that smart in the 49ers game plan to commit that money to him? And again, there's a lot to consider when you're talking about 4 running backs potentially here. So a lot of decisions to be made. I think in this case, you give Jerick McKinnon a shot and give him a chance to get some bulk of the carries, because I think he can still provide a lot to this team, and I think he's really motivated to show 49er fans what he can bring to the table. Alrighty, now we are getting into the quarterback play from Jimmy Garoppolo. So what an amazing season it was, progressing from that 4-12 season, the torn ACL. Jimmy Garoppolo comes back and rebounds, has one of his best seasons ever, leads the 49ers to the Super Bowl. And, one of the things that people have to take into consideration is that although Jimmy Garoppolo has been in the league for several years, he hasn't had a whole lot of time to start games. So by definition of being a starting quarterback in the NFL, at 28 years old, Jimmy Garoppolo still has a lot of reps to get under his belt. So it is definitely normal to, see the mistakes and the learning curves that we saw from Jimmy Garoppolo this season. Now, if you include the postseason 19 games, Jimmy Garoppolo did throw 16 interceptions, which is not too bad. But like all great quarterbacks, they go through that learning curve. And I think this is something the 49ers hope to see some progress from Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think we will see that going into next year, you know, from all the experience he had from this past year, his first full year starting. And I mean, it's just amazing how people tried to knock Jimmy Garoppolo for the few mistakes he made in the Super Bowl, trying to say that he can't lead his team to, you know, a Super Bowl win and that hasn't shown enough. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what more does he have to prove? He has the confidence and the leadership from his teammates to go out there and get it done. And everyone in that locker room knows that Jimmy Garoppolo, you know, is the guy that can get it done. So I have complete confidence in Jimmy Garoppolo. And I just think it's ridiculous, you know, the criticism that is being thrown his way. But, you know, that's to be expected in the NFL. And there's always going to be people trying to knock you and bring you down. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo responds well to criticism, and I think he cannot wait to get back out there this next year and continue to build off of what he did this past year. So I think we are going to see him really develop into, you know, one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he has that potential, and, you know, he's definitely going to be motivated, as every 49er player is, to avenge this Super Bowl loss that we had this past season. Alrighty, so now we are going to be talking about the offensive line and what a phenomenal season it was for this 49ers offensive line. They did such a great job protecting Jimmy Garoppolo, creating holes in the running game, and so really everything came together. Now, you know, they had to battle through a lot of injuries. So, you know, we dealt with Joe Staley being out. We dealt with Mike McGlinchey being out. And so the 49ers had to rotate different guys into the, you know, starting mix. And, you know, hats off to those players because they stepped in, you know, in a playoff team and got the job done. Daniel Brunskill was, man, perhaps just... I cannot believe how phenomenal he played when he stepped into the mix. He is definitely potentially could, you know, foreseeable be a starter next season. Now, also, you have to consider Justin Skule. He also played amazing on that offensive line. And, you know, a lot is going to factor into, will Joe Staley be coming back? And if that's the case, you know, Daniel Brunskill, I think he is definitely going to get a lot of reps. And so, you know, this offensive line, you also have to think the 49ers could go out in the offseason and try to bring in some talent to compete with the offensive line and raise that level of competition. But I think looking at where the 49ers are with the offensive line as it's currently constructed, I think you have to like where they are at right now, and extremely excited to see, you know, Daniel Brunskill, again, he just surprised us in such a phenomenal, fabulous way this year, and I cannot wait to see what is going to happen next year. And so, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you made it all the way through to the end of this video, then be sure to smash up that thumbs up button, and smash that subscriber button, and smash the bell button if you have not done so already, if you would like to be notified when brand new San Francisco 49ers videos will be coming to you guys with game recaps, live fan reactions, and as it's the off-season, we'll be coming with you with off-season talk on the 49ers. Always here to talk 49ers football and get your guys' opinion and perspective. So let me know down in the comment section, what are your guys' thoughts going into next year? Let me know what you're thinking. And I want to take this time now to thank each and every one of you guys for watching my videos. I appreciate you guys absolutely so much. This community has just been so much fun to be building and growing and talking 49ers football, as we all love to do so. And as always, guys, until next time, I will see you guys again. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.